Today is Wednesday. Shiur, Lamed Nissen, Tafshin, Ayin Gimel. We're in Teres Menachem, Sefer HaMamorim, Tafshin Yud Aleph, Tafshin Yud Beis. In the Maimer of the second day of Shiur is Tafshin Yud Aleph, Alpayim Shana Kodmat Hira, and we are on page Tzadik Ches at Ois Hei. In the last year, we learned about the fact that there are generally two types of hamshachas elokus, godliness, that comes down into the world. There is the hamshacha which is b'bchinas er yashar, and the hamshacha which is b'bchinas er chezer. There is the direct hamshacha of godliness, and then there is the returning hamshacha of godliness. Direct emanation of godliness into the world, and then there's the returning emanation. Which means that there is the direct one, Er Yashar, is higher, is more, greater revelation, lower is less revelation. That's Er Yashar. Er Chezer is that, as it says in Kabbalah, when Hashem finished with the Seder Hishtalshalos, Malchus being the last of the 10 spheres, and therefore the lowest, there was a process where he started it all over again, but in the reverse. The highest level associated with Malchus, the next one associated with Yesod, etc., etc. These two modes of drawing down godliness are dependent on two different types of Avodah, two different types of disposition and the service of man to God. Er Yashar is generally the direct way, generally known as Avodas Tzadikim, doing things in the normal order, and so on and so forth, which correspondingly attracts the godly energy of Er Yashar. And then you have Er Chezer, which is generally the idea of Baal Tshuva, where one faces obstacles and overcomes those obstacles, and that triggers the godly energy b'bchinas Er Chezer, in the returning light. Similarly, in learning, in Limud Torah, there is also learning b'derech Er Yashar and learning b'derech Er Chezer. Learning b'derech Er Yashar is when you learn Torah and you understand the Torah that you're learning, straightforward, in a direct way. Er Chezer means when one learns Torah in an indirect way, meaning to say there are obstacles that he has to overcome because he doesn't understand, and he has to work very hard in order to get to the bottom of it. So that is learning in the mode of Er Chezer, in the returning mode. This is generally the difference between Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi. Talmud Yerushalmi is Er Yashar, and because, as it says in Talmud Yerushalmi, there are far less discussions and questions and pilpulim and so on and so forth. Whereas in Talmud Yerushalmi, we are talking about Er Chezer. I'm sorry, Talmud Bavli is Er Chezer, because in Talmud Bavli, as the Gemara says, it's B'machashakim Heshivani. We are in the dark, so to speak. There are questions, there are hindrances, there are obstacles, and we arrive at the conclusion through this process of discussion and so on and so forth until we come to the actual conclusion. In the mode of Er Chezer, there are two aspects, two strands to the Er Chezer mode of learning. One is learning with yigir, with toil, and the other one is learning for the purpose of knowing precisely what Hashem wants us to do in order not to deviate from what He says, even in the slightest. Both of which call forth from the person a mode of kivutz, contraction.
What's the real difference then between toiling? You also wanted to know what you could have.
Yes, but when you toil, the Rebbe explains that in the first one, even though it's done in the mode of toiling, since the purpose is to understand the seichel of Torah, we can understand that there's an element of pleasure connected to it. Whereas in the latter, because the person is in a permanent disposition of, I need to know what the Torah says in order not to deviate. It's less obvious that there could be an element of pleasure connected to it, And the Rebbe explained that even there's also an element of pleasure. Why? Because the latter, when one learns for the purpose of knowing what Hashem wants one to do and not to deviate, it's like a slave doing a job for the king as opposed to a minister doing a job for the king. But even a slave who is completely bottled, completely nullified to the king, he can take pride in a job well done. And that pride calls forth, when the job is well done, it brings along with it the tainuk, the pleasure of it, in it. And the Rebbe concluded that Adrab, on the contrary, since the slave is completely bottled, therefore, what pleasure does the slave have? It's not his own pleasure, it's the pleasure of the king. In the former, because it's connected to his seichel, so it's his pleasure. In the latter, it's purely from having the job done, getting the job done as the king would like. So therefore, what's the pleasure? The pleasure is the pleasure of the king. So in that sense, it's even higher. It's a higher level of tainug relative to the previous ones. The Nekuda that Rebbe said basically was that in all the 4 levels that are mentioned in the Psukim of Mishlei that we discussed at length in the Maimer, there's an element of pleasure connected to these various levels of Torah. Even Torah at the level of Chochmah and Bina, Torah at the level of Midas, Torah at the level of Malchus, and Torah at the level of V'shashua es b'nei Adam, as it expresses itself in this physical world, as it's connected to the learning Torah and fulfillment of mitzvahs of human beings physically in this physical world. There's an element of pleasure. The ultimate point that Rebbe is making is what we're going to learn now in Ois Hey, that in fact the lowest level, the one that we just discussed, the second mode of learning within Oich Heiser, actually is connected to the very highest level, the first level of Ehya Etzli Amayin Torah, as it is wrapped up and one with the very essence of Hashem himself. But before we get that, the Rebbe explained that with this idea we will understand with these 2 modes of Tainuk in the 2 strands of Oich Heiser way of learning Torah. We will understand the 2 seemingly opposing Mamorei Chazal, one saying that when Mashiach comes, there will be, Hashem is going to make a big meal for tzaddikim and so on and so forth, aristoin, a big breakfast. And another Mamorei Chazal says that when in the time to come, when Mashiach comes, there is no eating and drinking. The idea of eating and drinking obviously is connected to pleasure, tainug, right? But when you say eating and drinking, it's a tainug that's derived from something else. It's not tainug itself. It's not pure tainug. It's not pure pleasure. It's pleasure as it is associated with, so to speak, eating and drinking, right? Was is the word? This is the lower level of tainug. This is the idea of the tainug in the first mode of Oich Heiser, whereby what? You have the yigiyah, and the tainug is as a result of what? Of achieving the seichel. So the tainug is related to the achievement of understanding the seichel of the Torah. Whereas in the latter, because the tainug is simply in fulfilling, getting the job well done, doing things as Hashem wants them, so that's pure tainug. That's as close to the purest tainug that you can possibly get. In Sfiras, the Rebbe said, the former is as atik, which is tainug. Pnimius atik, or as the Lashon and Zohar is, the Lashon Kabbalah is, Pnimius Abba, Pnimius atik. It's how the innermost dimension of the core of Chochmah is related to the core of Pnimius Atik. So it is Pnimius Atik as it comes down into Pnimius Abba, which denotes a pleasure which is murkav umurgash, a pleasure which is composite of other elements, and is a felt pleasure. Whereas that's the idea of Lasid Lavi, there will be a chilur shtia, eating and drinking. And the next one is Atik, Pnimius Atik, as it is in its source, as it is on its own, as it is in its own place, which is Lasid Lavi, there will be no achil and no shtia. That's pure tainug. Tainug which is not murkav, not made up of anything else, not felt, but it's pure tainug itself. How does that relate to going back to the point that Rebbe started making in the beginning? One of the issues that Rebbe highlighted in the beginning was that the term shashurim in these psukim in Mishlei is mentioned twice. The first one is, as it says, from where we learn that Alpayim Shana Kod Matel B'Riyos Shalom, the Torah precedes the world by 2,000 years. It says, "V'ehye shashurim yom yom," I will be his delight every day. I am his delight every day, or rather, I was delight every day. Right? It doesn't say my delight; it says delight. It doesn't say Hashem's delight. And Dafke, when it comes to the last one, V'shashu I as b'nei Adam, when he talks about Torah as it's related to the lowest level, right? The first one, Shashuim, is as Torah is at the level of Chachma Bina, but their Torah is only called as what? Shashuim, delight. Dafke, when it comes to the lowest level of Shashu I, as Bnei Adam, when it comes to the Torah as it is at the level of human beings in this physical world, over there it says my delight, Hashem's delight. That was one point that I've been mentioned. The other question was, why does the pasuk seem to start? Why does the Maimon Chazal seem to start highlighting the second aspect of Torah, and not the first aspect, which is that's the Amen Torah is a nursing by Hashem. So now that I was going to explain it based on what we learned. That's why when it comes to the level of Torah as it expresses itself in this physical world, as it's related to human beings, physical human beings, it says V'shashu I es b'nei Adam, my delight. Because specifically through the learning of Torah down here, es b'nei Adam, which is denoted in the words of the pasuk es b'nei Adam, associated with human beings, physical human beings, meaning to say that the learning of Torah is in a mode of the returning light. And in the second strand of as mentioned before, right, where one learns for what purpose? To know what one needs to do, not to deviate even in the least from what Hashem wants. Through this we reach the level of Sha'ashu'ai, my delights, which means what? Hasha'ashu'im ha'atzmiyim, the essential delights, Sha'ashu'ai ha'melech b'atzmusai, the delights of the king in his very essence. Shezeu inyan Torah, which is a reference to Torah, k'fi shehi b'atzmusai yisbarich, as it is in the very essence of Hashem, v'ehya etzli amain, Torah as a nursling with Hashem, which is the highest level. Right? And now another question was, why does it say v'ehya etzli amain in the future tense? The Rebbe brought from the Zohar that v'ehya is actually a reference to what? In the future. With this we will also understand why it says v'ehya. Ehya meaning in the future tense, that it will, that Torah will be a nursling with Hashem in the future. Why? Because this idea, this level of Torah as it is at the very essence of Hashem, as it is as expressed through and how? Through the learning of the human being and through the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs in this physical world, this will be revealed specifically in the future time. What does that mean? Now actually what we do is, we are actually doing it. In other words, now through our learning Torah and fulfillment of mitzvahs, in the second mode of Chayzer, we are actually drawing down Torah as it is at the very essence of Hashem, at the level of the very essence of Hashem. And we also add divine lights, divine energy in the realm of Atzilus. But the revelation of this will be specifically when Mashiach comes. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that all the Giluyim, all the revelations when Mashiach will come, are actually accomplished now. But it's behelim, it's concealed. In other words, we add it, so to speak, to the celestial treasure box, which is in heaven, where all that we do accumulates all these divine energies and divine emanations, and they're there. We can't access them. That will be accessed when Mashiach will come. So we in fact accomplish it now, but the revelation will be when Mashiach comes, and that's why it says what? In the future, this level will become revealed when Mashiach comes. This is also the answer to the question that we asked before. Why in the above mentioned saying of our sages? The sages, the Chazal, start with the special quality of Torah, as it precedes the world by 2,000 years, meaning as the Torah precedes the world in level, that it's higher than the world, because Torah is Chochmah and Bina, whereas the world is related to Midas. Why does he start from that? Why doesn't he start from Amen? Why does he start from Ve'eyesh Hashem Yom Yom? Shu'ini Ve'eyesh Hashem Yom Yom. The Chazal do not start from the special quality of Torah as it is in the very essence of Hashem. Because the idea of the first point that the pasuk makes is Torah as it is at the level of the very essence of Hashem. This is not Torah as it is on its own. Why? Here we're talking, the emphasis is on whom? On Hashem, on the very essence of Hashem. Not as it is associated to Torah itself. So therefore they start from the second one, but in fact, all this will happen, we'll find expression at the very lowest level when Mashiach comes. Just to finish off the Maimer, at the top of page Tzadik Tes, this is also the meaning of the explanation that which the Frierdiker Rebbe said in the name of the Alter Rebbe. That when the Torah was given, there were actually three things that were given to us when the Torah was given. Gali the Torah, Hashem gave us the revealed aspects of Torah, Hashem gave us the secrets of the Torah, and Hashem gave us the power, the ability to serve Hashem, to be able to serve Hashem. What does that mean? The explanation is that the revealed part of Torah is revealed now. The secrets of Torah are the reasons of Torah, which will be revealed when Mashiach comes. This is the level of the felt tainug, the composite tainug, the taimei Torah, the achilu shtia aspect, which will be revealed when Mashiach comes. That's the first aspect in limit Torah, and the power and the ability to serve Hashem in the mode of the returning light, which means the second aspect of Chezer I mentioned before. This is a level and an aspect which is completely beyond intellect and even beyond the secret reasons of Torah, which is the first nikud that he just mentioned. Even beyond the reasons of Torah, which will be revealed when Mashiach comes. Because this is a level which reaches the very essence of Hashem. As mentioned before, this will be revealed specifically when Mashiach comes. But also this, although it's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes, the power for this and this inyan was also given to us. Nitan b'matan Torah was given when the Torah was given, when we received the Torah. Why? Because matan Torah will not happen again. It happened only once. How they move, and so it's understood, since Torah, the giving of the Torah happened only once, it's understood, everything was given at Matan Torah. But its revelation will take place when Mashiach comes. That's the Maimer.